It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing a match review for the one and only Dookrai, the Michael Myers guy, the lore build guy. If you want to submit your own gameplay, please join the Discord. Make sure you go to the rules and hit the knife emoji at the bottom. You go ahead and submit a link in the coaching review channel and just include your hours so I can give it the best advice for that. For those of you who want to learn Freddy, this is the opportunity to do so. Okay, so we're starting off with a pretty good build. We got brutal strength and fire up. Two of my favorite perks in the game, obviously. You get double the break speed. You actually get a stacking 6% on top of your 20 for each stack. You also increase your vaulting speed, pickup speed, stuff like that. Very good choice. Barbecue's also fantastic on Freddy because you already know he has the capability of teleporting across the map. Pretty much fantastic, as we pretty much expect. This is already a fantastic start. When you're playing Freddy and you start off, you always want to be able to place down those dream pallets from the very beginning. Very important thing to do. Incredibly key, because you already have to take the time out to swap to your dream pallets and then also press the button to place and aim it and stuff like that. So being able to pre-place will obviously not only give you information, because there'll be people there'll be a lot of survivors like going by, maybe slamming them, so you may be able to be nearby and hear that, or you'll know that they went through that area. It does provide a lot of different benefits, and including with paint thinner as well, you'll also be able to teleport. If I'm not mistaken, you should be able to teleport with that add-on to that person who dropped down the dream pallet. So pretty good hit with the snare there. Really solid mind game there. This is something that I would say is very, very good to start off with. I'm going to show right here, which there's also Survivor on the right hand side over here, but I'm going to also try to show you guys why this was so effective. Okay. So the reason that the play like this is actually quite effective is because what he did was he sort of delayed his mind game. She went through this way, which is where the peacock is. She went through this way, which obviously means she was going to rotate toward the left side. Now, this is obviously mind gameable in itself, as we've seen plenty of times, and the red is obviously the pallet. Now, the way that this kind of works is you're essentially leaving a red stain going into this direction, which I'll use a different color for this so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. We'll use blue for this. So the red stain is going in from this direction outward like this, basically, like a little cone there. And they already are looking in this direction anyway, because they're like, okay, I just made a turn going around the pallet. He's most likely going to follow me through to go around this side. Now, the thing is that he delayed it so that one of the most smart things that he's done here was that he delayed the actual like movement so that it almost seems like he's fully going to commit to that side. And then what he did was immediately went into the left side, which I'll use a different color for. He just stayed here and then went to this side. It's subtle, but like, especially when you're trying to catch people off guard with a game like this, getting somebody caught off guard with something like this is very key, and something that you can try to use in your own games. You could definitely try doing something like this, because the red stain is the key component that a lot of survivors use to be able to figure out your pathing, trying to figure out which direction you're going to go to, because that's where you're looking. So by looking in this direction toward the pallet and then quickly swapping over to the left side on a small loop like this, which objectively she should have went this way anyway, on the right hand side, which would have been much safer, but because she made the mistake of going on the short end, that allowed for a very good 50-50 there and allowed to get a hit. So very smart. I would definitely say take notes on even something as simple as that can really allow you to raise up your power level in terms of your M1 capabilities. Also, once again, really strong movement there. Really good, dream pallet rupture. Fantastic already off the bat. Very good, obviously. Because one of the biggest things with the dream pallets is that it makes a lot of loops very unsafe, and it also allows for some insane level of lethality around pallets and stuff like that. You can basically kind of flip it around and make it in, flip loops back into your favor if they decide to loop around it. And overall, very dangerous. They did attempt a blind, so we know that the survivors that Dookrai is up against are definitely going to be very altruistic. Very strong hook as well. So I will say though, around a tile like this, it is very hard to land to land an effective hindered around this position because of the fact that like within this tile here, it is a more filler sort of tile, but the thing is the shape of it is very strange. I'll try to explain it in the diagram, I guess. Okay, so I'll try to explain a little bit on how to sort of launch the snares, I guess. Because like the thing with this particular tile, which I'm trying to kind of show here with the rock, the tree right there, and then the pallet sort of thing. The thing is that we're working with a 12% hindered, right? Which normally, you would think is, normally if you're looking at clown, it's about 15% pre-nerf, obviously. I don't know if they're going through with the nerfs at the time of recording, but obviously normally we're dealing with a 15% on clown, but we obviously don't have that on Freddy. It's a little bit it's at 12.5 to be specific. 12.5. So because we're working with a very like low strength hindered, it does make certain loops a little bit harder to actually connect the snares in a more optimal way. Now, I will say that the rotation here, because because Dookrai was actually launching the snare about in this direction, which will be the blue right here, as you can see. The snare was launched into this direction as the survivor was going already, making it over into the pallet. So what ended up happening was the rotation went from around the rock and then into the pallet to take a stun, which is not as optimal. Now, the better option in this situation would be, what you want to actually do is to try to go around the tile and then try to get them to drop this pallet here. If they can drop this pallet here, then you can pretty much get some good use out of the tile, because what you want to do is try to hinder them around here, like at this edge, because this will be the long side, and this is what you want to try to do, especially if they're hugging the wall. The idea is you want to get this dropped, so you'll go from, because you came from the bottom, so you go from this side. You can either launch the snare, you go that way, and then from there, they'll be like the run around. You can hit them with the snare if you want, because it does have a pretty decent cooldown, but ultimately you want to have this pallet down. So I drew the snare in blue because it was blue in the video. So the snare is blue, boom, launch it through there, and then obviously you have the survivor, which is the peacock, running through to get to the pallet. Now she most likely will drop the pallet to try to get the stun. You don't want to get stunned, because getting stunned would actually takes up more time and gives them a chance to break off and to go somewhere else. You don't want that. So what you want to do is to get them to drop the pallet. You rotate around, you use the snare like around here in this side. You see where the blue is at? I'm gonna draw a little arrow with it. You could launch it here, so when she's curving around this rock, or you can try to launch it around here, so that by the time you can launch the Hindered and you're hugging the rock, you'll be able to about here somewhere around there, should be able to try to get the hit ideally. Or you could try to launch it around here as well, somewhere around this point, because you want to have it launch into one of these directions. It's away from the pallet, because what makes the snare and Hinder dangerous is that you're moving at your full speed, but they're slowing down, so you're actually gaining meters of distance as you rotate around. So you want to avoid the pallet side on a loop like this and try to focus on getting a snare to launch somewhere along these lines, so that you can get the hits from where the blue X's are, because when they reach pallet, they'll vault right over. So you want to kind of try to land it somewhere along this area so that you can actually get your hit. Believe it or not, Freddy does have some pretty insane depth. I honestly argue he's almost as deep as Clown in terms of the depth like that you can do with snares and things like that. Now, by this point, I would say you should have already broken off chase. Like, you already had gotten a pallet or two. Somebody's already off hook and injured. They're gonna start resetting. This point right here is the point where you should have broken off chase. Also here, there was a bit of a fumble there. You know, it's understandable. One key thing to note is that if you do hear ringing like of an alarm bell, you know that they're most likely waking up nearby, and you know that there are going to be close by from that, obviously. And it's up to you if you want to go for that. I don't remember though if you're able to cancel out the wake up animations with an M1. I'm not sure, but if you can, I would have recommended that if somebody is trying to wake up in front of you, to just go for the M1, just because of the fact that not only are they unaffected by your dream abilities, but then you also can get a free hit as well, so you can just fully walk them down and get the M1 anyway, because you already are unable to use your powers against them. So very good hit there, obviously. So I will say there is another way that you can play Shack, and it works very similarly, and I'm going to see if I can try to explain it. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can try to explain sort of how to rotate the Shack with Freddy. And I won't say this is the foolproof or the perfect situation, but assuming that, you know, you can use these snares and there isn't a basement, because if there is a basement in here, it actually will take up your power, similar to Pyramid Head, where if the basement's in the shack, then you might not be able to do some of the rotations, like especially around like this long side with the wall, you won't be able to do that. So for example, like if there was a basement like that's around here, the power will end up falling into the basement and not actually traveling all the way through, so it would end up just kind of like falling into here, and you don't really want that to happen. But assuming that there isn't a basement in the shack and you are playing it normally, it would depend. And this red here is the pallet next to the orange, which is the window. So assuming that you are rotating around to get the hit, which ideally when you know, for most of you who know how to play Shack, you understand sort of that getting the window out, getting the pallet out is pretty much the way to do it. And then obviously the window and is a little bit strong because they can fast vault through there. Now there's a couple of angles that you can go from. Like for example, if you are rotating through this way, you can launch a snare to here in order to try to get the hit sort of here, because similar to Clown, when you do hit the Hindered, they usually can only make a medium vault and not a fast vault, which usually can allow you to gain the hit. So there's a hit you can get there. You can also launch it through the wall and get them around here. So if they try to attempt to try to like maybe fake the window, you can attempt to launch it there, and then you can also launch it, around here. You can actually, while they're going in that direction, you can launch it through here to try to slow them down to gain further distance. So there's a couple different angles you can go from to try to get them to slow down, and it's sort of like trying to visualize what they're trying to do. And if you can kind of get an idea of what kind of repetitions that they're used to doing. So depending on if they are really focused on trying to keep the pallet up, then they probably will keep going for windows, so you can keep launching these snares. It is you know, also based on the add-ons for travels, but rule of thumb, you know, you can catch them on certain areas like this. A little bit different than Clown, but he still works very similar in that way, trying to get them to medium vaults or trying to get them to slow down for you to gain extra distance. So pathing is very important. So going from here, they do decide to completely avoid the window there. Now here is a good point to start using the snare, because you want to try to make it a lot harder for them to make rotations. Now, because of the 12%, it is still very hard to actually get a lot of use out of these snares, but going to be mostly focused on trying to slow them down from being able to fully commit to that window. So here I will say there is a bit of a misplay, I would say, and I'm going to try to show you guys. Okay, so I'm going to try to kind of give an example of how to play this sort of like jungle gym. Like, I think it's called the 4-lane or something like that, but usually you'll see something that looks similar to this, where the pallet is here, and then you'll see like a window on this end here, and then they'll most likely try to use this pallet here to try to rotate around it. Now, from the angle that it was approached from, you came in from this side, so it avoided the window. It completely went in towards this pallet here. Now, what Dookrai was doing here was that he kind of paused here to try to bait them to drop the pallet. Now, the problem is that if a survivor is aware that you are focusing on specifically pausing in front of pallets to or respecting, as in other words, the pallet, then they most likely will be able to just run right past it, and you won't be able to gain as much distance. The path that you kind of want to go from is you want to go approach it from here, and then you cut it. So I'm gonna try to draw it again. You kind of go in from here, and then you cut to the right, and you continue to push through on the side. And this is sort of to fake that you're going to go straight through the pallet, so you can bait them to drop the pallet in order for you to walk around it. Now the survivor will be forced to actually go around this way, or they're forced to go this way. And either way, they're going to take a hit, because if you're going around the pallet, because they're already stuck in this animation, you're already cutting away going around. So they either have to stay within the 50-50, or they're going to be forced to run around it. And then from here, you can either, you know, and because you're playing Freddy, you can actually apply a dream snare along the path on one of these parts here, depending on where they're going to go. And that's what the blue is for the snare as well. You can actually launch a snare through the wall here to try to actually catch them before they reach this vault, which is an advantage that Freddy has over other M1s, besides Clown, of course. You would want to launch a snare through one of these sides, or you can launch it from here as well. You have a couple different ways you can go about it, because if they decide to rotate around the wall, they're pretty much going to be slowed all the way down, and it completely locks them in. Because if they're going to get slowed in this area here, they're pretty much have no other option but to go down, because you're going to be able to make more distance overall and try to catch them before they reach this pallet here. So that is obviously the more optimal position. I would also say that leaving the pallet there would have been much more effective, because the chase, at least within the context of the match, the chase has gone on too long. So what I would have recommended is you just kind of leave the pallet there. You can just break it later. You can just go ahead and just continue to follow them wherever they decide to go, so you can actually try to get your down. But by stopping to break the pallet, even with brutal strength, you're only getting, the only distance you're getting is maybe about 2 or 3 extra meters on brutal strength. And considering that you already have to stop and break the pallet, that means that they're still getting forward momentum, and then you're stopped. Like, you're still stuck in this zone while they're able to continue moving forward and forward as far as they want to go. So that's one of the biggest things on the shift W, the hold W kind of thing, is like, you know, even stopping to break things can actually cost you distance that you potentially could use. So hopefully that makes sense. Which, as you can see here, which I want to show the rest as well, that he like that Dookrai plays it well still, like obviously, because he corrected them, he corrected it right after, like, which is really good. This is ultimately how you play this. So this is pretty good. Like, I would say that this play was pretty effective, I would say, on both sides, in my opinion, because the survivors, you know, assuming that they had resilience, they were able to basically, they knew the timing of like of when to basically vault the pallet so that it would be a free vault. Now, it could also just be timing. I'm not sure which. And the way to play this, obviously, because you can see like by this, like by them standing there, they're trying to show that they're being very confident. So in this situation, I would say that Dookrai really played it correctly. Like he knows that they're gonna go around the wall this way, so he goes around in the opposite direction, kind of shows the red stain, comes back around, goes for the 50-50. Very smart. This is how you play it. So good work there. I mean, yeah, he found them pretty easily. It's not like he was lost for too long. Nice. That was really good. Nice. 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 Good work. Oh, nice. Okay. That's a good break right there. Good pallet break. It does connect to the TNL. And he... Nice job. That's really good. Dookrai playing it beautifully here. Yep. Beautiful work to Dookrai. He played this beautifully. Like, this is exactly how you want to play it when you're playing Freddy. This is perfect. She goes for the window vault, so he knows, okay, I'll stay on this side. Launch the snare by the window so she can't get the vault as quickly. The play is very smart here because in his mind, he's probably visualizing he's going to try to go for the other window vault from this position. And so that's what he tries to do. He tries to read it there. He realizes, okay, the knee is not going there. Let me push to the right hand side. She's like, okay, I'm gonna check spot on that spot. So he goes, okay, she check spotted. I'll go back the other way. And then fake, which makes her think, especially with the red stain, makes her think that he's gonna go in that direction. Gets the down. Beautiful play. Absolutely beautiful play. That is how it's done. Now, we do know that there is a survivor that's close by. So I think that there might have been a bit of a mistake here, because if you're looking around, you'll actually notice there's scratch marks left over from when she tried to save over here. But that means now that she's most likely either ran away or she's gonna hide in a bush somewhere to try to make sure that that Freddy leaves. So the only thing with this play here is that you have a hook and you have a gen, like a gen that's like 99, and then you also have it right next to a hook. What I would have recommended was here, right? So the hook was here, right? In this position here. This is where you hook the survivor. Now, you knew that there was one survivor that was lying around over here, and then you knew that there was one on the hook. So that means that you knew that somebody was coming in for a save on this side over here, toward like this back back of the map sort of like box area with the pallet over here or whatever have you. So the problem is that if you're like spending time over here, which hold on, where is he? So if you're spending time over here, that means that the person that was here is now going to be able to go all the way over here without being contested. You ultimately want to focus on what the objective is, which is to defend the gens and obviously defend the thing there, because there's like I'm gonna see if I can draw the gen. It looks like a it looks like a Lego gen. So the gen was here and the hook was here. Ideally, because this thing is it's pretty progressed and stuff like that, I would have recommended going around, maybe going over here. I would say would be a good position to kind of stand in, because you're not going to give too much anti-camp, but you also will have this entire half of the map in your sight, and then you'll be able to catch anybody who might roll in from this end as well. So you're actually like sort of having a view of all of this area here. So if they have to, so they go in for a save, then you'll be able to apply pressure that way. You know, because you already had like this is ideally right here is the most strategic standpoint. If we're talking like specifically strategy, like you're trying to win your game, this right here is ultimately like the spot you want to be in, because of the fact that it has the most control. Like you can both control the gen from being progressed, which as we've seen, it has a lot of progress. And we also can control the hook, which we know that was here. And we know that one person, which is here, hiding around somewhere, is in the area. So in this situation, the best case scenario, don't even waste because you already know she's around. You just either want to hold on to this area and just wait for her to pop up, because she's gonna have to, or you can try to teleport somewhere else if you wanted, but it wouldn't be a good idea, because then you would lose this gen, and then you would also lose the hook, and then they could both reset and then go and double up on the same gen. So hopefully that makes sense. As you can see here, like you actually end up losing where the survivors are because of the play there, because looking for that hidden survivor actually opened up the hook to be freely saved. She obviously off the hook was able to run away, and the savior was able to just kind of slink away somewhere into the darkness, and you wouldn't have even known where they went. So that is sort of the explanation behind that. Now, good idea teleporting over here, obviously. This chase isn't favorable, unfortunately, and you have about 2 gens 99, as you can see, because this gen in front of main and this gen behind main are both 99, so you're actually at 1 gen. Which, knowing where the Claude is, she's going to just run back and finish the gen, as you can imagine. As you can see, this gen is at 80%, and the other one was at 90%, so you're already down to about 1 gen. As I had predicted. So yeah, like I would say that was the crucial point there, and that's why I was trying to demonstrate in the drawing the importance of the play, because by going there, it actually will completely shift the entire match over to your side of the map, because there'll be 1 person and 2 people occupied, one that can't save and one that's on the hook. That means that the third person has to either get off the gen or do something else and try to come back over to try to save somebody, and then that'll help at least bring down some of the pressure they have on the gens, and then also shift over the game to your end. It's more strategic, obviously. So this is also a pretty interesting play. Yeah, that gen is 99. Just like I said, like she would complete the gen. Nice. That was a bit nice. I would say that, like, I would have to say though, so much credit goes to Dookrai, bro, because dude is fantastic at these pallet detonations. Absolutely fantastic. I probably am pretty decent at snares. Dude's got the pallets down packed. Like I have to say, fantastic job. I gotta say. I don't remember what the add-ons do, but I know one helps you teleport over to the thing. But I would say there was two crucial moments that had caused this to go haywire, and I would say that the first was like the chase on Nia. I think at the beginning was a bit too long, and then I think at this point here, like earlier when you had the Gen 99 and the person on the hook there, I think was like 2 points where it was a bit of you gave them a lot of pressure through the play. So those are two key components there that had actually caused the game to be a little bit more for their side, I would say. Nice, good work there. You can actually go for the teleport, which is pretty good if it actually lets it pop up, but I don't think it does. Oh, it put them asleep. Okay. Nice job. Beautiful snare. Wow, that was amazing, yo. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good, man. Absolutely. Wow. Okay, that was perfect. So what Dookrai here, which I really hope I'm saying Dookrai or correctly. I really am, but regardless. What we're seeing here is an example of how to use the dream pallets on Shack. And I have to say I'm incredibly proud. I have to say it's fantastic with the dream pallets. I have to say, like, if there was any way to put it, that would have to be the best way to put it. Dude is fantastic at it. And I'll use it in purple. So basically what he's done is he's replaced this with his own dream palette here. And the idea, obviously, with a rotation like this is you can both use the snares and you can also use the dream palettes at the same time, essentially in different plays. And depending on how you want to approach it. But what we see here is a window here, the dream pallette's there. And what he's trying to do is actually get them to go around and then stop here at some point to try to get them to detonate to stand within the rupture range. And I have to say, played it beautifully, because you're trying to bait from the doorway. You're trying to try to show the red stain to get them to push further into the range. Absolutely fantastic. And it is all about timing and spacing, and that's something that is really hard to sort of show in a funky little drawing. It's sort of predictions and game sense that go hand in hand when trying to use something like Freddy's pallets, which is so cool, It's great to see. And I would say that this is really good. Trying to corral them into the dream pallets is the way to go. There are different spots on different maps that you can actually use these dream pallets in different ways, and that might be its own video. But for Shack specifically, this is a great way to do it. You obviously want your dream palette to be the Shack palette that either corralling them in here, whether it be from the this side or the other side, like trying to get them to go into this little point here to get them to get in the range and stuff like that. Impeccable. We love to see it. All right, so what are the main takeaways we can give Dookrai? Let's get into it. So first and foremost, I have to say right off the bat, I have to give props where it's due. Fantastic dream palette placements, fantastic dream palette detonations. Overall, fantastic way to play Freddy. Very impressive. I also have to give credit where it's due. There are some really good mind games that was done here, especially at the beginning of the match, when you kind of did like a bit of a red stain sort of like fake in a sense, where he basically had left the red stain there and then immediately went to the left to try to catch them off guard. Very smart play. Overall, I would say the dream pallets look great. I have to say they look great. And as for you know, for the other takeaways, so first and foremost, I will have to mention that you definitely want to try to use the snares a bit more on different positions within the tiles, because there is like, I would imagine like that Freddy sort of functions like Clown, where you want to sort of slow them down from going to certain key points. And shown by the little diagram here, I would say, hopefully I showed it correctly for this tile here, is you ultimately want to kind of play him a little bit like Clown, in the sense that you don't want to break every single pallet, but just break some that you would think should be broken. I would say like God pallets, I would say, are very good to break, obviously. Even a pallet, even like a loop like this, which we can see in the gameplay in the background here, I would say is a good way to, you know, try to leave down those pallets, because you can actually allow for more snare play, and then that will actually just make Freddy more dangerous in chase. Now, obviously, I understand that the build is more focused around breaking, which is understandable. But I also will say that there is the time and a place to break certain pallets, I would say, and it's always focused on trying to zone the survivor. Because even within in the clip here, when you're going through the 4-lane, I think that was, or I forget how many lanes that is, but you also had given them the pallet by breaking it in that direction, and you actually had given them the rest of the map, when instead, if you broke it in the other way, it would have pushed them further into a dead zone. So that is one of the main takeaways, is sort of like trying to incorporate more snares, and also knowing you know, the optimal placement for breaking the pallet, which is, you know, which, yeah, like it's like but I have to still say, like, massive props there, because like, as much as I can sit here and talk about snares, like, I still have to give credit where it's due, because the dream pallets were good. Like, I think the timing on it, on those detonations, are really good. I don't think I would be able to do that unless I were to, you know, get back on Freddy and actually practice a lot more. So it's very nice to see that. I also like the build. I think the build's really cool, really fun. I also appreciate that Dookrai is actually trying out different add-ons and trying to do different things with Freddy's ability, and really trying to have fun with it, which is really nice. Overall, I hope that I was able to give a good explanation around certain things. The other thing that I want to also point out for Dookrai, if you're watching this, man, really, once again, really appreciate you taking the time to submit a gameplay, so other players that are new or maybe trying out Freddy can really also be able to learn a thing or two if they need to. And overall, I have to say it's great, and I really appreciate the submission. Thank you guys if you made it to this point. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube things. Check out those links, man. Support the channel. Check out Dookrai, you know, dropping fantastic content, especially the Scream lore builds are really fun, really interesting, and we also get a 2-for-1 special. We get a fun build, and we get a movie review all in one. Great content, and hopefully this helps sort of show you guys that maybe are struggling around like just trying to understand how to loop with Freddy. And hopefully I'll be able to, you know, and Dookrai is also be able to show some examples in this gameplay, believe it or not. But yeah, enough yapping. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, you know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.